Meeting to order. Since this is a work session, I'll just straight turn it over to Carl.
All right, thank you. So today we're going to go over the operational budgets at whatever detail you want to go over them. All of the department heads are here. Not all of them have departments big enough to warrant any kind of a secondary presentation. I think we'll be doing all those first. But I'm going to drive, and they'll talk when they're up here that way, because I built this thing, this monster, and I know where everything is, and so I didn't want to have anybody fumble around trying to find their presentations if necessary. So first thing we'll talk about is the governing body and the city clerk. Only a couple things to note there. I've talked with you guys a little bit about the training budget for the governing body, whether you wanted to do it like have an amount per person or some other method. The training budget for the governing body, the city clerk, was $4,000 for the year for all 8 of you, and that is proven to not be enough and isn't enough. And so I got a mixed sort of response from everyone, so I just plugged in $15,000. I think that'll cover it'll cover an increase in attendance and pace from what you did last year, what you're doing this year. So if we need to do more, we can, but that's where I settled on that, was just to put $15,000 in there. The big change here is I moved Kelly out of this division because she was sort of working for Dean, and now there's no supervisor here, there's no unit here for her, so I moved her in the city manager's office. But your salaries still had to change because you guys will get a raise halfway through this budget year, so you'll see that reflected there as well. So not a lot of to talk about. It's very small amounts of money, and again, if you have any questions, let me know.
Where is the 15,000 called out there?
It's not called out, it's wrapped into the operations. You see the 642 and the...
So what's in operations? What is $642,000 paying for in operations?
It pays for all of our insurance payments. It pays for all the stuff that Lana does as well. Binding, printing, posting our Muni code, posting all the stuff we do with our ordinances and that sort of thing. It pays for everything that she does. It pays for everything you guys do too, but most of her.
Is there a breakdown of that?
I don't have one handy. I can get you the line item.
So we'll get the line item as a secondary for each department, correct? So like printing, busing, training, and uniform, like
Yeah,
all that?
exactly.
Okay.
All that stuff,
And that'll
yeah.
break down, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's all that stuff. But I don't have that for the smaller inputs.
Is changing Kelly's position from where it used to be to under your department, does that change anything when it comes to her salary or her title? Okay.
It is a net neutral move, it's just better organization.
So you have a spreadsheet with the breakdown of that operational budget?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It was included in what I sent out yesterday.
Yesterday, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
Any questions down here? Can I just do it informally if that's okay?
Okay. Next thing is city manager's office. All the changes here are reflected in the moving Kelly in there, but also moving the community services function into the city manager's office, which is Grace and Ron, the farmers market manager. Again, the community services division was created during ARPA. It had several positions in it, and it's dwindled down to just the events function. And again, with no supervision, no org chart supervision, so I've moved that under the assistant city manager, Dustin, as well. I also moved a couple of professional services lines out of the CIP for our lobbying services with Merchant McIntyre and our economic development services with HGIS. I don't know why they were in the CIP, but they don't belong there, so that's what that's all about.
I just shout out if anyone has questions.
We should be at 30 minutes by now, so
Good job.
we're at. All right, next one's Commissioner of the Revenue.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
So yeah, the org chart hasn't changed at the Commissioner of Revenue's office. The main thing that has changed there is you'll notice our revenues have gone up dramatically, and I mentioned this last time. We were not getting our full recovery from the state compensation board that we should have been getting. Lucy has rectified that. That's actually going to change our fiscal year 26 budget at the end as well, but for fiscal year 27, we do intend to recover all of that we can as far as reimbursement goes. And so that's the increase there, other than, I think we did some printing and some postage. Stamps are going to go up to like $5 each or something
Yeah.
like that. And Don will
Postage is
tell us all
killer.
about it.
Postage is killer.
So if you have any questions, there you are.
Any questions for Lucy?
I have a question. The
Yes.
state budget, I know, has been passed, and what is the impact from the state budget for commissioner revenues around the Commonwealth? Are they increasing funding to the commissioner revenue offices?
They're giving state employees 3%, they're only giving us 2%, so they're trying to get us to get 3% increase.
Yeah.
So I know they're trying to do that, but that hasn't passed yet.
Is there any changes to VRS, do you know?
No, I haven't heard.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And you don't have to wait, or you don't have to hang out.
Okay.
Once you're done, you can hit the road. Sorry, Calvin, you're last.
I just wanted to hear from everybody.
Come on up. So treasurer, again, no change to the org chart there. No change to the FT count, but very similar situation here. We're recovering the full amount from the state, from the compensation board that we should have been getting. Donald also decreased a couple of professional services lines, and his overall budget impact is in the negatives. He's actually reduced his budget, so. If you have any questions for Donald, here he is.
Questions for Don?
Oh, you have a speech prepared?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. I would like to just say that today was the first day we hit $5 million collected in personal property tax for 25. So today, because I ran the numbers today, so I track them 2 to 3 times a week. I actually go into the system. I'm tracking because we did delinquent notices for personal property and with delinquent notices for businesses' tangible property. So I'm tracking to see how effective some of those things are. And I hope to be very soon, I'm going to be in front of you again with the debt set-off program through the state, where we are going to be able to, it's free, it doesn't cost us anything. We upload the file once we're in the program, and we'll be able to match everybody that has delinquent tax revenue, a tax bill, if they get an income tax refund or a winning for lottery winnings over $600, the state will automatically match and intercept the money and give us a chance to get the money before the taxpayer does if they owe to us. So that's something that's not in this, but it will show up on the revenue side, hopefully, where we're going to have better collections. So moving forward, I'm working on a whole bunch of different, that's just going to be the first one that I will hopefully be bringing to you in May.
Thank you.
Any questions for treasurer?
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Donald.
The numbers are highlighted because whenever they come up negative, I always want to recheck my math, and I have not done that yet, but in case you're wondering.
Okay.
Okay, Patricia. Halfway through, right after the budget was approved in July, we made both of her employees full-time. So her org chart won't change from that. That was accommodated in the F1 budget amendment. You'll see that there's that change there between the adopted budget and the A1. And the electoral board salaries went up a little bit. And we expect what? What expect to have? More elections this year? This is where you get to talk.
There are 3 elections coming up in our budget cycle. We have August 4th, November 3rd, and June 15th, 2027.
August, repeat that, please, Patricia.
Okay, August 4th,
Uh-huh,
it's a primary. November 3rd is a general special.
yes.
And then June 15th, 2027 is another primary.
So on the primary, we have no primaries here, or do we? We have a primary, a local primary on the 4th of
We do
August?
for offices above local
Right.
level.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Statewide candidate.
Yeah, like
the
Senate,
charter.
House of Representatives, those are primary elections.
Do we have any candidates in those?
Yes.
Primaries? I mean,
Yes.
that requires a primary? Oh, we do, okay.
We have in August, for sure. We have a Republican primary so far in that one for Senate. We're still
Okay.
waiting, so yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I had a question too. Your operations budget increased by 20,000. Is that for the additional elections?
There are several things built into there. There are the 3 elections, so officer pay, programming, ballot production. We also put money in there for redistricting, should the question pass on the 21st. When we made the budget, we did not know who was going to be mailing out the voter notices to all the citizens should the district change, and for us, they are. But the state has since said they were going to pick up the cost of mailing the notices to the voters, so.
Oh, that's good.
There'll be somebody coming back to y'all, so yeah.
You passed through. And has a price that we pay for poll sitters or poll watchers, have we increased that? I know we had problems recruiting people in the past.
We keep it at minimum wage per hour for the normal officers. There's extra pay built in for the chiefs and the assistant chiefs.
Okay, but just basic
Yeah, it's basic.
minimum wage. Okay. Thank you.
And I have a question. You take into account the minimum wage increase that's going effective January, right?
I'm sorry?
You take, but even for all the part-time employees within Parks and Rec, that's to the manager? Okay.
The voter registration staff that's part-time last year was at 40,000, is back down to 8,000.
Yes.
Why?
Part of her pay came under part-time. When we moved her up to full-time, that pay went up with her to cover
Okay.
part of it. The other people are down there, those are election assistants
Okay.
that help us during the 45 days.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then also, printing and binding went up almost a third, more than a third. So is that just because of the additional elections and things?
Well, that, we thought at the time we were going to have to buy a large amount of envelopes to mail out to 9,800 people.
Right.
Changes in their precincts or districts. And then we also thought there were some other things in there, like envelopes for not the overseas, but the absentee ballot envelopes. Because of the added elections, we're going through them much quicker. So we have to order them in bulk, and they cost a lot of money. So we added that in.
And that's the same with the office supplies.
Mm-hmm.
And the professional services also went up.
Yes.
Right.
One of those line items is, I think it's 1,700 more off the
Yeah.
top of my head.
Yeah, your cost.
Yeah, our new poll book vendor requires
fees every year to be paid to keep up with the subscriptions and those type things.
Oh, well, what?
I'm sorry?
Would you say what kind of vendor?
Our poll work,
Our poll, okay.
Vendor,
I thought-
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're an hour in. You want to take a break?
Nope.
Joshua? After the city assessor, the previous city assessor left, we started to go into the process of hiring a new city assessor and found out the assessor's supposed to report to the finance director. I was just accepted as fact when I got here that they reported to me. So we've made a couple of adjustments to make the org chart right there, obviously, and we already know we moved human resources under there, and the budget administrator is going into finance, which is where that is typically held. So otherwise, we expect to see some efficiencies once we're done implementing the new ERP, so we don't really know what's going to happen in there. So I think Josh has got some plans for some different things, but got to wait and see if it performs as advertised before we really know what we're going to do there. So otherwise, this is what the money looks like. Pretty flat, other than the COLA. In fact, it's right on the COLA number, so I don't got any questions for Joshua.
Questions?
Josh, your operations budget increased by $25,000. Could you just give us an explanation? I didn't
Yeah.
go to the line level.
Yeah.
That's related to anticipated higher costs related to our annual audit. We recently went out to bid for annual audit services. We're just using a conservative estimate, thinking that the price is going to go up based on the proposals that we've received.
What do we currently pay for the audit?
About $65,000.
And you're thinking it will go up to about 80?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And how is that process going?
We received a total of 5 proposals, including our current firm, RFCA.
Oh, and when will we expect, is it after the audit season, fall sometime, or spring, summer? It's going to come
Yeah, I would.
with a recommendation?
Yeah, if I had to guesstimate, I think we should have a decision made within the next month or so, and they would coordinate with our existing firm, assuming we go in a different direction, sometime in June.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then my final question, it's the question of the hour.
Yeah.
How's the audit coming, and when can we expect the audit to be completed?
Yeah, it's the question that I ask myself every day. Yeah, we are. 2 weeks ago, our consultants, I. Bailey, finished our bank reconciliations. That's been our bugaboo since I've joined the city and been the finance director here at the city. We brought on a new revenue system in FY25, Avinity. That's Revenue One and Cash One. That's what the Treasurer's Office uses. And so that caused some challenges for us after the FY24 audit. So our firm, I. Bailey, it took them some time to get the bank reconciliations prepared. So now we're in the process of finalizing the adjustments that the consultants provided to us so we can provide the auditors with the PBC list, which is heavily driven by the bank reconciliations. So to answer your question about the expected timeline,
Yes.
I don't want to make any promises, but we are working diligently, and hopefully we could try to get it done by the end of May.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Will Tyler help us next year with the audit process and reconciliation?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be able to use the bank reconciliation module in Tyler. Right now, we don't use that with Keystone. We reconcile with Excel, requires a lot of manual work. So, yeah, we anticipate Tyler being able to help us streamline our bank reconciliations, our capital assets and the way that we track those, which has also kind of been troublesome in the last couple of years. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, Tyler is going to make our annual audit process a lot more seamless.
That's fantastic. When do we start the 26 audit? When do we like to start the 26 audit?
Yeah, typically that would be April, May, now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get that new audit firm on and we'll get them going soon.
That's the way it's planned in my mind anyway. We'll have the new firm come on in June. Hopefully we go live with our new Tyler system EERP in July. So a lot of change, a lot of things are happening, but they're all in the positive category.
Well, the new Tyler system is definitely exciting. And so, yeah, I appreciate all your answers to my questions. Thank you.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Josh.
If we bring the audit firm in June, isn't that FY26 funding then, not FY27?
Yeah, so they wouldn't start until, they'd be
After June.
onboarded. Yeah, they'd be onboarded in June and start in July. So it would be FY27 funding.
Okay. So we have a big jump in professional services. So that's the professional services audit bucket for 80. We have professional services, 17,000 FY26, jumping to 71,000. What is that for?
From 17,000 to 71.
Mhm.
It sounds like I probably punched the number in backwards.
Okay, yeah, because it says 71,000, and the other one is 17,460, and it looks like it's been pretty consistent. All right.
That
That'll
also
bring your number
might be
down
related,
quite a bit.
the professional services line?
It says just professional services, and then right above it is professional services audit for 80,000.
Gotcha, so you're referring to the audit line or the professional services line?
The audit is 80,000, which you just explained.
Correct.
Because you're going to award that
Yep.
in June, but still pull from FY27 if the budget's approved, of
Yep.
course. And then the professional services line, it jumped from 17,460 to 71,000. So 17,000 to 71,000, right underneath it.
Yeah, that's the consultants, Bailey and K-Tech. We're going to keep them on just to make sure that everything is good to go with our new EERP. Thought it'd be a good idea to have some overlap with our consultants and the new systems that we're going live with.
Okay.
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
The first question is, I know our rating's pretty good. I know we're double B plus or whatever it is with the bond council. Is that are we going to maintain that rating? Or are we looking to move up for debt capacity and all that?
Yeah, I would want to touch base with our financial advisors before responding to that in an affirmative way.
Okay.
Yeah, I can get back to you on that one.
No rush.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, I know we have a lot of different payment, and the going forward or looking down the line is to try to streamline the payment process from multiple systems.
Yeah.
When do you think that will be? Like within 12 months, like maybe 24 months, it'll be all streamlined, or at least reduced to not having like 3 or 4, maybe having 1 or 2?
Yeah, so it has not been approved or adopted yet, but we've kind of decided to advertise for enterprise systems administrator position just to see what kind of interest we'll get. But our thinking is that we need that position.
That position will be the same position as the one that's being advertised.
Yeah, to help us come up with a strategy to streamline our revenue systems. Yeah, right now it's kind of a hodgepodge. So we need that expertise in-house to help us strategize.
And then just one other question, since I know, and I think I've talked to you, governmentjobs.com, and I've requested that multiple times. A lot of jurisdictions use it to get a better pool of candidates, applying for positions, and a lot of jurisdictions use it. I think you budgeted in this coming up. Is that something we can have live, like July 1st for HR?
As soon as you adopt the budget, if it's in it, I can start moving on it.
Is that in it?
We'll have enough money to.
Okay, because it's only a couple thousand. I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000, I think, for us as our city.
It's about 15,000 to
governmentjobs.com?
upfront implement it. The ongoing cost, Valerie, do you remember what the ongoing costs are?
When I priced it out directly, I thought it was 4,000.
Yeah, that's the upfront cost. I can get back to you on what the
I know they do
ongoing cost.
population based. When I plugged it in there, it was I think like 4,000. If you had only about 25 positions per year for the population, or 20,000, some type of metric like that.
Yeah, that seems
So-
right to me. About 5,000.
Yeah, so I think that we can get a different, larger pool of candidates, whoever apply from wherever, and in a lot of municipalities. I know your previous municipality uses it, a lot of the ones in this area use it. So I just think it'd be a benefit.
Yeah.
So just thought.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I don't remember who's next. Mark.
It's like the draft.
It kind of is. Well, I didn't put this together in any organized fashion. I just did it as it came,
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, governing body members. Glad to be here. Probably about my 34th budget process.
So again, not a lot changing in general services, org chart, FTE counts. This is where the fleet issues have been residing with enterprise, and I'm going to let Mark talk about that if you want to hear about it, but that's what we're looking at here. We're going to have some significant increases. We're planning for some significant increases in fuel costs, both in heating our buildings and in driving our vehicles. And yeah, I'll let you talk about the rest.
Yeah, if you don't mind going to the my presentation real quick. It's just 4 slides, and I can cover everything. That's a general description of our 3 units. General Services Administration, myself and Francesca, Facilities Division, which is 4.5 FTEs, and Fleet is 2 people. There's no changes. That's just the program descriptions there. Org chart, no changes. FTE count, no changes. My budget is comprised of like 3 cost centers, so it's mashing together several cost centers. The first is the admin, and that's 12,129, as you see on the chart. Then facilities, which is the 4.5 people, and then fleet, which is the 2 people. When you add those together, you get a $2 million budget. Now, I will bring to your attention that in general services, we are the people that pay your bills. So you have gas and fuel, you have all the fleet repair maintenance costs, you have our utility costs, and there were some significant increases this year. I went through a line item budget, and I have a line item with me. I won't bore you with that, but on the next slide, you'll be able to see some of the variances that, and I do a variance sheet every year from last year or the amendment to this year, and I highlighted like the big variances in yellow, and then I put them on this sheet. And so contractual services went down overall. Personnel, by the way, we just assumed the 3%. That was the policy that came down. Contractual services, we used to have about $15,000 for janitorial unexpected cleaning. We took that away, and because we needed to fund a new police range cleaning contract in facilities, and we figured it was $15,000 to $20,000. It came in at 16. So we moved that money because we had some flexibility in that, and we moved that so we could fund the police contract for the police firing range. In the last 6 months, I've learned more than you want to know about lead compliance and how firing ranges work. I used to be on the other side of the firing line shooting the gun, but when you go back in the bullet trap, there's a lot of nasty stuff back there. And so I hate to say, I was like, get you some wipes and some cleaning and get down in there. You just cannot do that. And it costs a lot of money to clean the range safely. Utilities cost, all of that increase is to pay water and sewer what they should be being paid. So we weren't actually contributing through the process of billing, because that's handled by the treasurer's office and finance. We weren't actually paying what we needed to pay the utility for our water and sewer bills. I don't know how it was working before, but the city used to get shut-off notices. And so for not paying our bill in a timely fashion. So what was worked out was a direct billing and debit process. I think Josh knows and the treasurer know more about it than I do, to be honest with you. But I do know that through the first quarter, we had already spent our money, and so that was the big increase in that. Guess what? You're paying yourself. It's not going out the door. So it's going to the utility fund, but it's the right charge. Fuel cost up nominally. Repair and maintenance, I mentioned the $20,000 partially funded from contractual services for the firing range contract. We added some money for some cosmetic repairs and social services if it's not required of the landlord to do it. And there's some gray areas, so we're going to make sure that Randy's facilities are better kept than they are right now. Do some cleaning and painting and things. And we put in money for the MAP clinic to do some general repairs that we're responsible for the lease. Those were the big increases for R&M. The major one, of course, was the water and sewer bill. That's why our budget pretty much went up 8.3%. Everything else was pretty flat. So, available for any questions.
Carol, I know we talked offline, but could you just say for the record the change in the vehicle retention? I know we used to cycle.
You're talking about the policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so before we go off that, I do want to say this process is long, and the department started putting their presentations together in January. And so we weren't at war at that time, and so I have increased all of the fuel lines beyond what they prepared 4 or 5 months ago, so just FYI. But yeah, so with the fleet, we have a small city. We don't put a lot of miles on our cars, and so we've implemented a policy that we're going to turn the cars over at 8 years or 100,000 miles, is that we decided. We had the agreement we had with Enterprise was just every 5 years you get a new car. I have a 5-year-old Enterprise car that has 7,300 miles on it, and I don't think that's a very good use of our money to turn that in for a brand new one with zero, although I would like wireless Apple Play, but I digress. So yeah, so we're going to implement that, and then along the way, we are weaning ourselves off the contract and buying the cars. I will say that Enterprise has approached us with an ask to renegotiate and see if there's something they can do to make the deal work for us. And we're entertaining that. We've met with them once, and they've sent us some things, and we've made some agreements and some interpretations of contracts that, you interpret it one way, it's really good for us, interpret it another way, it's really good for them. And so I think I mentioned in one of my notes to the governing body that I will give it a fair look, and if it can save us money and is efficient, has a value, then great. But if not, Mark has laid out an excellent 5-year plan to get us self-sustaining on that, so.
Thanks.
Yes, there's a slight discrepancy in the total that you had on the slide and the one that's being presented at like 40K. How much of that is driven by the fuel?
Probably all of it.
Buffer, okay.
Yeah.
So that's, okay. Makes sense, thanks.
Mark, is all the fuel for the city budgeted in your area, or is it each?
Yes, it's in the fleet division.
It's all in yours?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because your operations budget increased by 14%, which is like one of the highest ones. So I'm assuming that it's mostly because of the fuel and those kinds of things. What is contingency account? 100,000.
Yeah,
Increase that by 5.
I decided to pull that out because we didn't change the contingencies at all, but in facilities, there's $65,000 if something blows up and breaks and has a really significant problem. There's also contingency in fleet. We've pretty much, we've spent all of the, or going to spend all the contingency in fleet. When you have something like a ladder truck that needs service, it is not cheap at all. And so we have, the operating budget went up significantly because of, $50,300 because of that. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware that we added $5,000 to the contingency account because of things breaking, so. And in essence, it's money that can be used for unforeseen things.
Sure.
Yeah, both in facilities and in fleet.
So looking at actuals, how much was spent in 2025 for contingency?
I'd have to, let's see. I don't have that number with me, but I can get that for you.
Please.
Yeah.
If you could do it for like the last 2 or 3 years, that would be
Sure.
helpful to see a trend on
Yeah.
contingency and spirits. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's fleet replacement, repairs, and maintenance, and then it says fire department, and it went from 90,000 to 162,000. What
Yeah.
is that?
That's all the repairs to apparatus and equipment.
So,
It's heavy repairs, and that, what, are you specifically talking about the fire department account? Or?
yeah, it says the fire department. It says
Yes.
Fleet facilities, fire department. So the
Yes.
fire department repairs are in your bailiwick.
Yeah.
Not their,
That's
not their
that's what's
budget?
happening. That's what's actually happening.
And I think
Now,
there's a police line item too.
I believe like sometimes we're all car owners, right? I keep my car and then it has nothing and then it goes up and then you do the CV joints, you do the brakes, you do the rotors, and then it flatlines and then your AC breaks. I'm hoping we're having a bad run and you don't need that much money, but we have to go by what we're experiencing, and the fire department's more qualified than I am to tell you it's going to go down or up. We basically made it go up to what we're spending now. So did something big break that may not break in the coming years and we don't need the money? I hope so.
It says actuals was 90,000 last year, so that's almost 70,000 more.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just didn't know if there was something specific in mind, if it was planned, like there's something that's planned.
No, just major breakdowns.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about them at all? Do you know?
Do you want details, Stacy, or do you want?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to know, like, what, if we have something planned, if it's a.
Not planned, it's just based upon what broke and what we had to fix and what the repair costs were.
Okay.
Mr. Manager, I have a question. This is to go back to HR. One concern I brought up last year and this year is the health insurance, how we bid that out, because we have, for the employees, they have one of the highest health insurance premiums from the region here. Have we bid out or gone out with any other, looked at competition?
We have not, but that is on my list for next budget. Apparently, it's very hard to get out of the system we're in and very expensive, but I'm going to take a look at it for the next budget.
Are we combined with
Thank
the
you.
schools?
No.
Okay, that might be something to look at.
Absolutely.
My follow-ups will be the contingency and fire department repairs. I'll get both of those to everyone.
Thank you.
Mark.
Sure,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
IT.
Good evening, Mayor, governing body.
Hello.
So we haven't had much change, but I did put the faces of my employees because without them, I wouldn't have an IT department that I have. So they are what make it tech here.
No changes to the org chart.
Can I just ask a question about that one? So, Carl, later on in the presentation, you're recommending adding an enterprise systems administrator that would become part of the IT department, but that's not reflected here. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, I did the original presentation in flat. So the original presentation is everything the same as this year minus whatever outside influences are. And then the recommendations at the end, depending on how you decide on those, will change the way the front end looks.
Okay.
But this is status quo.
Understood. Thanks.
I have a couple questions. The maintenance service contracts went down. I'm not asking them to go up. I'm just curious why they're going down.
Why, some of them went down because we combined them. We had a different one. So Kaseya has been our main company. And so as we brought in more Kaseya at a cheaper level, we've let other contracts go
Okay.
to make it a better price.
The other question had to do, I think it was with our cellular, our wireless at $180,000 for telecom wireless.
Our wireless is FirstNet, and yeah, we have quite a bit of cell phones in the city, and some of them require a little bit more service for the police and fire. But yeah, and then we have they have tablets which require wireless.
The question I have for you is, I know a lot of your applications have gone fully cloud-based, web-based, and the security is with the vendor. Internally, how many servers do you have left with vulnerability? How many servers or VMware slices do you have?
So
Instances?
right now, I couldn't give you an exact number. We have VMware, and all our servers are in there. So we probably, because we're getting rid of some already as we talk. So I can get back to you on that. I don't have an exact number.
Okay, thank you.
How's the new phone system working out?
We're coming along. We're making the adjustments to, we're not there yet, but we're taking everything we had in Mitel and programming it into Ring Central. So there's some caveats that Mitel could do that Ring Central can't, and so we're making the adjustments. Right now, we're finishing up the call queue, and that's making meetings with some of the different departments to make sure what we had now works for now. Then we're making new ones. So we're almost at that point where we're done. We got 2 more to do, and then we'll do the next phase and then look at training.
And will your office do the training or the contractor?
No, we'll have the contractor.
Thank you.
You want good
Thank you,
training.
Don. No, you won't do that. You won't do that. I don't blame you. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. How are you?
Hi.
Good.
Again, no change to social services organization and FTE count. I have not updated the slide to reflect the latest final numbers that we got from the state on reimbursements. I think we've only gotten 2 finals in a row so far, so I don't know when the final is going to come, but not a lot of change. In fact, less than COLA overall. So, do you have anything you want to say about it?
I do not. They've state supported a 2% COLA and a 2% bonus, for the new fiscal year. But there's some things further down the line that are a bit impactful, like a centralized intake system. But we're talking a couple fiscal years down the road and hoping that doesn't happen. That could be very challenging for Northern Virginia to have a call center in Richmond or a teleworker, taking calls for the Northern Virginia area in Southwest Virginia. It's very confusing with the localities and making sure that the report goes to the correct locality and timely. Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Carl. Thank you, Randy, for your presentation. So if the state gives DSS a 2% COLA, we're giving our employees a 3% COLA. Do you match that extra 1% so that they get the same?
Yes, although DSS did get more of a COLA last year than the rest of the city, but I don't have time to do the math. So yeah, I'm just making it straight 3.
You get made a straight 3. That's good.
Well, and again, we're going through the class and comp study, and that may change things anyway. But if it doesn't get done in time, then I've baked in a 3% COLA across the board. So, but we don't get bonuses either. So they'll get it in the end.
Randy, can you just touch on some of your just your statistics as far as services delivery? Have we seen increases in WIC requests, or just what's the overall, given the economy and what's going on in the country?
Well, WIC is handled by the health district.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have the WIC numbers for you. I could probably get them if you're interested. Yeah. We've actually seen a decline in our foster care cases, an increase in our adopted cases, and just a slight increase from our last fiscal year to the current fiscal year for our Medicaid and SNAP cases. Yeah, I think with the new builds in the area, we are gradually seeing our population increase for benefits as the community grows, but nothing alarming, significant. We did see a quiet period when the immigration battle started, a fear likely to come to the office or report information, but that lasted maybe 30 days last summer. We have regular residents visiting our lobby daily and reporting information, so pretty steady, which is probably why my budget is staying pretty flat line as well, which is perfectly fine.
Well, it's exciting to hear that foster care is down and adoptions are up.
Yes,
That's really
it
exciting.
is. Yep. Yeah, we currently have 11 foster children, and 3 of those are fostering future youth. So they've aged out of the foster care system and are still eligible for services. So the case management is much more minimal than it is on our regular foster care caseload.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's been answered in the presentation because I didn't see it, but I could have missed it. Do we know what percentage of DSS operations are locally funded versus reimbursed?
So it's based on a random moment sampling system that is very outdated and very difficult to configure. But we typically look at our budget about 60-40, so 60% being reimbursed by state and federal, and then 40% being required by the local.
Thank you.
I noticed that you had 15,000 last year for stipend, signing bonus, and you don't have that but in your budget this year. Is there a particular reason?
No.
And then the last question I had was in-home services specialist staffing is not budgeted. Last year was budgeted about 58,000. and then nothing this year. Are we? in-home
Can you
for-
repeat that again?
In-home services, specialist staffing.
That is a budget line that was state-supported and is no longer funded. They wrap funding in for various programs. When they're new, they'll oftentimes have their own standalone budget line, but eventually the program either ends or they wrap it up into our staff and operations line of
Do you know what
855.
services that provided that either we're not providing or it's wrapped up?
It's another word for our family services worker. They do
Okay.
in-home services just like they do
So
foster
it's just
care,
wrapped up in
adoption.
it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep,
Thank you.
yep. And then, can you repeat the one question that you had about the signing bonuses?
Yeah, you had 15,000 budgeted and I guess actually used last year, and then there's nothing budgeted for stipend or signing bonus.
Yeah.
Because I know that recruitment is always difficult with your department.
It is. That was an initiative approved by the former city manager to entice staff to come. We also did an alignment of our salaries, and we feel that our salaries, our starting salaries, are sufficient, that we no longer need the signing bonuses.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you provide a stipend, though, if someone's a Spanish speaker employee?
Yes, we do. It has to be a certified translator, though. Most all of our staff are not official Spanish translators. They're Spanish speaking, so we don't have anyone currently who's eligible. But if someone did get the certification, they would be eligible for that. It's up to 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Does the state certify them? Who does the certification?
The state does not do it. It's we looked into it one time, and many community colleges in the area offer the class. It would definitely be something that would fall under our training budget
Yes,
line,
yes,
where
yes.
if someone was interested, that would be a qualifying class, but we've had no interest.
Have you looked at doing it internally? Because I don't know if you have to be a full certified Spanish speaker to be able to communicate. Then just in my job, I have to communicate in Spanish. And I'm not the most
Yeah, we haven't. It is written in our comp plan that we have to provide to the state every year that it would be a certified translator to get the increase. It's definitely something I can remind staff that the option is there if anyone wanted to become, certified.
I mean, I don't know if it needs to be 5% of the salary, but internally, if we have someone speak Spanish, I think even if it's, $500 more a year, or $1,000 more a year, just because they can do it, and they can communicate, so people they can feel the incentive to help whoever comes in, regardless if it's a barrier. I just think, Mr. Manager, I think you should consider that.
Yeah, we'd have to pay for it ourselves, but it's
Yeah.
something we can do.
And it would have to be citywide. We couldn't just
Yeah,
go one
no,
department.
I agree. It'd be
That's
citywide.
benefit.
That
Yeah.
provides a front-facing service, I think.
Yeah.
I'd say it has to be thousands of dollars, but.
Another item to your to-do
That's
list.
on my list, yeah. 50 cents per word.
Calm me down.
Are you certified? No.
You
Thank
don't
you,
have to be
Randy.
certified.
I think I was able to follow up with all of the questions,
did.
correct? Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay.
Did we skip that line?
Maybe. No.
Oh, it's the 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Hi.
The entire time I've been in public service, the Parks Department has been referred to as the Fun Department. Jay has the most confusing budget of any department in the city, so just so you know. No change to the org chart. I know he has some items or some staff on the desired list, but none, again, this is status quo, so no changes there. It is important to understand how much part-time staff Parks uses. I had Jay figure it out and sort of translate that into an FTE count. So we have 54 FTEs worth of part-time employees, which I think is, 214 or something like that?
I think so.
So, sometimes it takes 4 teenagers to make one person when you're looking at lifeguards and things like that, the summer seasonal sort of things. So it's quite an organizational challenge there. So Not a lot changing here either. The library contract as supposed to go up 3%, but somehow I ended up getting it at 2.7. But other than that, everything is pretty much staying where you'd like to see it, other than revenues, which is going up, which is also what you'd like to see. So, anything you'd like to say about your operation?
No, the big thing is across the board, we had a lot of 2.5% increases for operational lines, but then there were a couple 5% line increases, so we averaged out about 3%. But the big items in note, we're looking at about a $40,000 increase for electric utility line, but we're coming down on our water, we're coming down on the Latino Festival expenditures based on the previous couple of years' figures. And we're also coming down on the 4th of July line. Contract went up, but based on last year, we kind of anticipated more costs going towards entertainers, alcohol. The previous year, the city had purchased alcohol to sell. So we're able to kind of absorb those costs and bring the total line down about a little under $10,000.
The only question I have for you is the water park. Well, the two questions. The water park is almost at 100% cost recovery, correct?
Yes.
And it was at 97 before. And then with the classes and everything, you're about 68% cost recovery on average?
For just regular
Revenue
programs,
yeah,
not group exercise.
programming. Yeah.
Programs, yes, sir.
Okay. That's good. It's very good. It's actually high for the standard.
How many,
Oh, go ahead.
how many people does the library employ? We're almost at $1 million a year just for operations of the library.
6 full-time, 3 part-time.
Okay.
And that's included in the contract cost. So that line item, the library services GL, encapsulates that staffing cost as well as some, other costs that they need to basically perform the duties of the contract.
Have we looked at staffing that ourselves and the cost for that?
I know there's a lot of kind of evaluation and into that prior to the library coming on board, and I think there was, the governing body at the time kind of felt like having, an entity who is basically, library-centric in nature and knows how libraries operate and run would be advantageous compared to trying to do it in-house with folks that may not have that same skill set.
It's just more than what we pay our IT department, almost by double.
Sure.
And that's not even the facilities. Does that include their facility rental as well, or the cost that we pay for the space?
No,
It
does not.
So it's, again, double the IT department.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure.
John?
You want
Come on.
more money?
Will you come up to the
Gotta tap the
microphone?
microphone.
So, since LSS has come on board, we've worked with them hand in hand, but we wouldn't be able to take care of the library.
Oh, no, I wasn't expecting the
Okay,
IT
okay,
department.
I just
It was just more of a comparison of
Right.
staff.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. It's
And
the
IT folks
specialty
are
and stuff.
usually pretty
Okay,
well
I
paid.
got a little worried.
No, I was not insinuating that IT staff should take over the library at all, not at all. It was just, IT is pretty skilled staff, and the fact that we're paying twice the amount. And
The software
this-
is very intricate that they use
Yeah.
for the library.
yeah, thank you.
Jay, I think I read something, and maybe Carl, correct me, that the possibility of those 54 FTE, all the part-time, I think you said over 200 part-time people, of reducing that and bringing in some full-time people.
I definitely think there's some breakpoints there. Until he'd done the math and figured out what that is, that was when I said, oh, we need to look at this, but we don't have time to look at it for this budget, but
Well, I hope we
next
don't
year.
do it, was my point.
I hope we
Oh,
don't do it
okay.
either.
Yeah, I love the fact that we hire that many youth to do that on a summer basis. I think there's youth in our community who depend on these summer jobs every year. And for us to reduce them and give them to some full-time adults, I'd much rather see it go to our young people in our community. So I like the fact that we have that many
I don't-
part-time employees.
And most of
I
the
don't-
jurisdictions around the region do it this way as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
They
gonna say,
do
this
it.
is similar to.
It's a lot more
same.
inexpensive to do it this way, because then we have to pay all the, we have to get benefits
Benefits.
and everything, and
Yeah, and I'm not recommending anything with the seasonals and all
No,
the kids that come out to work. It's just, I think we need to look at it, because that's 215 people, being equal 54 full-time, and just, I think we should look at it. And it might result in one, or
Right.
something, so.
Could I get a breakdown of the Latino Festival? Because I know that most of the expenses were covered by vendors and by sponsorships, and you're saying that you're lowering it for the next year, but I would like to see a breakdown of how you got to those numbers.
Okay, sure. I have some numbers here. Do you want me to, or
Sure.
get you something? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it in your presentation?
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the Latino Festival was profit or even break even.
Yes, so.
That's why he's reduced the expenditures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, definitely, it definitely saw a profit. There was no cost to the city.
Cool.
So in '26, we, in terms of revenue, we brought in $3,300, but we budgeted $20,000. And then in '25, we brought in $9,500, but again, we had budgeted $20,000. So we just increased that number to $4,500 for FY '27.
Okay.
And for FY '25, in terms of expenditures, we spent $10,500. And then in FY '26, this current year, we spent $3,000. So we bumped that to $4,500 just to give us a little bit of wiggle room.
Okay.
Because we anticipate it growing a little bit from last year, but we don't think it'll quite hit the previous year.
Jay, one other question. Are we increasing our fees in any way, the rental of the pavilion, any of our fees that Parks and Rec charges in this FY '27 budget?
So we've looked at that. We're constantly kind of evaluating what other jurisdictions are doing. We've seen a huge impact to our drop-in numbers, our drop-in to the community center. We did a rate change and increase back, I think it was about 3 years ago, to the water park and then to the community center. And we're just now starting to get close to kind of like hitting those numbers on air drop-in to the community center. As a result, we had a lot of negative feedback from the customers that the drop-in cost was prohibitive and just too high. And we saw that kind of measured out in the data. As far as rentals, we did an increase back in, I think, 2015-16. Again, we run into situations sometimes, challenges with like folks with banquet rentals, our most popular rental, where they'll say, we have to have police because there's going to be alcohol, and we have to have an ABC license. It's going to be too expensive for us to do all of that. So we are hearing a lot of feedback from the customer base saying, like, these costs are a little bit expensive, especially now, given kind of the state of things.
Sure.
So we didn't feel like now was a great time to kind of introduce that.
Yeah.
Memberships-wise, again, we try to be very competitive because our facility isn't quite as large, doesn't have quite the same level of equipment, size and scope as some of our other competitors in local government, like in Prince William County or the Freedom Center, for instance.
Sure.
So again, we try to keep our prices commensurate with what we can offer and kind of what the value that the customer's getting.
That's great. I probably should know this, but do we charge our residents a different rate to use the community center as non-members?
Yes, sir.
And what's the differential between them?
So, for instance, it's usually like with a single adult membership, it's $35 for a resident, whereas a non-resident is $45.50. So, $10.50 difference per month.
And so connected to that, follow-up, do we know what percentage Manassas or just surrounding cities use our community center as opposed to Manassas Park residents? What's the split?
Yeah, it varies based on demographics. Like, for instance, we have more non-Manassas Park seniors that use the facility than Manassas Park seniors. However, with the traditional memberships, teens is the opposite. We have more Manassas Park teens that
Makes
use
sense.
it than non-Manassas Park teens.
Sure.
And then with our traditional, like, adult and family and dual memberships, I don't have that information offhand, but I could certainly run that.
Appreciate. I'd be really interested in knowing what those numbers are like.
Sure.
Thank you, Jay, for the excellent presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Swisher, I remember when we raised the senior passes and they all came in, you were on council. You proposed it.
Remodel did?
Do we
He
have-
did.
Oh, no.
A
Do we have
40 of them came in
anything
and
where we offer memberships
know.
with guest passes or anything like that?
Yes, sometimes when we do membership specials, we generally do a special every month. We mix it up. We have, part of our admin team gets together and we kind of like throw ideas around. And generally speaking, at least one time a year, we'll have something where it includes free passes, or it may include, a free access to a program, or a discount on a rental, or other things to kind of try to, introduce new folks to the facility.
Thank you.
I saw a request for funding an aquatic specialist and a fitness supervisor. Do we currently have anyone in those roles? And if not, what duties would that cover?
So the aquatic specialist, we do have someone in that role now.
Okay.
The reason for that secondary request was more or less, I guess, kind of a backup plan in the event that city manager and the council deemed the aquatics supervisor to be cost prohibitive. That is the position that we prioritize and feel is most important.
Okay.
But we felt like if we need someone in aquatics, we need some help in aquatics. So if we could get that specialist at a lower cost, which again is not preferable to us, so maybe that was a bad idea on my part to add it. But that is something that would still help in some capacity.
Okay.
But we do have one currently. This would basically just double kind of that output, and in all actuality, that person would probably end up assuming some aquatic supervisor-based duties and responsibilities anyway, just because of the sheer fact that we need more hands, we need more support. As far as the fitness supervisor, that's one of the 3 positions that it was frozen back in 2010.
Yeah.
The duties were absorbed by a current staff member.
Okay.
And then they've basically continued to operate with those duties as part of their other duties in the meantime.
Okay.
So this would just be basically reclassifying that position so that we could have someone solely in that role to oversee the fitness division, which is the wellness center and the group exercise classes.
Thank you.
Who absorbed those duties?
I think it was me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I just want to make that point.
Yeah.
What was it?
Jay serves that role.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, so what happened was with the group exercise, with the aquatic supervisor, in 2010, when I took over operations, the city wasn't able to basically afford to classify both those positions. So I just assumed those duties that I already had in the fitness division. And then what happened is years later, when I moved into this position and we hired a new operations manager, the aquatics supervisor at the time was the one who was hired for ops. So they continued to maintain their aquatics duties. And then the past 2 individuals since, same deal. They were already aquatics supervisors. They got promoted to operations, and then they maintain those aquatics duties. So we're trying to separate that again so that we don't have one individual doing 2 full-time roles.
Sure.
And Jay, I believe I saw in the CIP that you're going to resurface the community center basketball courts
Yeah, the indoor.
in 2027. Yeah, the indoor, not
Yes,
outdoor.
correct.
Indoor,
Correct.
which needs it desperately. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad that you're doing that.
Yep,
Thank
sure
you.
thing.
Great.
Yep.
I didn't see anything for maintenance of the dog park in the operational budget or anything like that. Was that?
So anything dog park related is included in our repairs and maintenance GL.
Okay.
We did a big push last April to make some improvements and augment that some. We did add this year a capital project decision card to try to kind of finish off the more long-term goal, which is to get all new fencing in the dog park. And then the goal would be after that to maintain the other items like the mulch, the shade structures, trees, all of the hardware and all the components via our operating budget. But we do have the fence installation as part of a capital project request.
So, yeah, and maybe, trees come along, any trees you guys have, put some trees out there.
Yep,
Would
absolutely.
be super helpful.
Yep,
Yeah, thanks.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to comment on something Vice Mayor Moore said. As part of this budget process, I did ask every department that charges fees to do an analysis of those fees and see, number one, what fees do we have control over and which ones do we not? And then of the ones we have control over, where do we come down with everyone else and that sort of thing. But with the departure of the budget manager and things, I didn't have the time to do the analysis. So I do expect to bring to you at some point, probably for the 28 budget, an updated approach to the fee schedule citywide. But I just didn't have time to do the work for this budget.
Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members.
Again, no change to the police org chart or FTE counts based on, again, this is a status quo budget. I know there are a couple things the chief would like, but they're in the other section. So budget is went up a little bit in overtime. I think that's something that they wanted to talk about, and otherwise it's not a lot. I might have not done the math right on that one, but what do you want to say about your budget?
Well, it's about a 6% increase over the overall budget. We did see a decrease in the revenues, and that's because our collection has not gone well in terms of getting people to pay their citations and stuff, but we're making progress this year already, so I'm thinking that number will go up next year. So that did have a factor in our overall budget increase, but we did see an increase in overtime, trying to factor in some of the city events, court overtime, operations, when we have late arrests. Criminal arrests are up for the city, even though we are considered, we have a safe city and we do a good job of keeping it that way, but we are seeing an increase of people being incarcerated and arrested and being charged. So a lot of stuff, or during the holidays, we did see some people get sick and stuff, so we have staffing shortages and had to get people to rotate in and have to pay them overtime for that. But right now, as of through March, we average about 54 hours per employee so far this year in overtime for operation alone, which is not a real high number, but when you factor in all the other stuff, it does affect the numbers. And so when we came up with the increase in budget, we're getting what the average is and where we're going to be at the end of the year. And we felt that that was a conservative number, because when we started all these events, we had no idea what the impact was going to be to the overtime. So we've been very conservative on the numbers every year. So this year, I feel that I think we're getting close enough that we shouldn't see a significant increase going forward.
What kind of recourse do we have when people don't pay their citations?
Well, that's what we're working on with collections, with the treasurer's office, and some blockages of DMV, stuff like that. So we've been sending mass letters from back as 22. I think they're up to 2025, so we're going to start working on the 2026s soon.
Thanks.
And thousands of letters have gone out.
Going back to the overtime, are you asking for, are we asking for more police officers to be able to cover and have more, or are we not asking for more FTEs?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the desired budget, if we was to increase staffing, it would help with the overtime budget, because we would have an overlap.
Could we get like a comparison as to like keeping it the way it is with the overtime and then maybe hiring 1 or 2 officers for just the events or whatever? I mean, I don't know how we could make it so that,
The overtime will be cheaper.
Yes.
It'll be cheaper? Okay.
Way cheaper,
okay.
yes.
Is that because of training?
Benefits.
Things like that?
Well,
too?
that's salaries, benefits,
Plus their cars, guns,
equipment. I mean,
All right.
you're talking
computers.
That's good. There we
These are
go.
just the pays of overtime.
Chief, so I believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me, I can't find them, all these spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I think it was in 2024, your overtime budget was 200,000. And then in 2025, it jumped to 400,000. And I believe now in 2027, we're nearing 450 or 430. So that's a huge jump. And I don't have actuals in front of me, I just have budgets. I'd like to see some.
You said in 2020?
No, 2024.
2024?
Your budget for overtime was 200,000. And then the next fiscal year it jumped to 400,000.
And that's one of
Do
the.
you have that, Carl?
Wasn't that
I can't
because,
pull it up
I
without
can't
this
either.
okay. Everything else.
wasn't it that because of the case that we had?
I mean, that has been, we've had some big cases
Yeah.
that required a lot of personnel to work and overtime and investigation. But in the beginning, when we we were trying to figure out what the overtime was flat for years. And I'm not sure how the former chief was getting that in there, but I had no idea. I had to get years of trying to see where we're at. And with the courts too, changing their schedule and how they handle us as Manassas Park, I have my officers now that I'm paying more overtime because they have to come in on their day off. Before, we were able to work it out where they were either on the day to work that day, that night, or, it was very limited of how much overtime we were spending on courts.
Has there been a significant increase in the events that the city now does than what we did maybe a year ago or 2 years
That's
ago?
what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That was driving it.
Yes, sir.
That's part of it.
Could someone name a few of them for me? Because I
Friday night.
don't recognize
Last
them.
Friday.
Last Fridays did not exist 2 years ago.
Is there a lot of officers that patrol last Friday?
Yes.
Yes.
It takes a minimum of 3 officers to shut down the street safely.
Sure.
We try to get 4. And if you're looking at 5 hours of 4 officers, I mean, we just did this because Grace just did a calculation to see what it costs to rent the plaza at a cost recovery method, and it's costing $1,500 an event.
So I assume that the police department is the only department that can shut our streets down.
Pardon me?
The police department is the only department that can shut our streets down? Is that true?
Public Works.
Or can Public Works bring the
They do.
blockades?
They work together, but they need to be staffed. You can't just put a blockade up.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question. Sorry. I have a
I don't want
question.
people
What portion of the overtime is DMV grant?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What portion of the overtime is a DMV grant? 'Cause that's-
It's not reflected in this. This is out of a different GL. We get
How much
reimbursed.
is the DMV grant you get from the
The
state?
DMV grant, I can tell you right now.
You signed the DMV grant? They cut it last year. They cut it, I think, by a third from the state police. That's how they got the numbers up.
Right now, we're getting
And
42,800.
it was like 70, right?
Yeah, they took the DUI enforcement away from us because we didn't have enough fatalities to justify having it, which if our efforts were there and we reduced that, I'm not sure why we were penalized.
Right, right. And I know they did that statewide to redirect the money to other places. The other question I have for you is, I know, and I've talked to you, the other jurisdictions are significantly increasing because of due to shortages. And are you seeing people leaving? Because my concern, I've said, is that the compensation is going to match, and then we're going to have another series of officers leaving, and then we're training's like 60 or 70,000 per academy. So,
we're hopefully this comp study will allow us to do that increase, but in the desired budget, my recommendation was to raise the starting pay to 74,000 for officers to get us in the region, close to what the region's doing with
I
Prince
think
William.
what I would like to see, I would like us to match Prince William County's at least entry salary for fire and police, at least the entry salary. I'm not saying what should be inside because obviously it's different scales, but at least the entry salary should be this somewhere because and I think there should be an ordinance that does that reflective.
And that's what was presented. It was close to what Prince William or what Prince William has currently,
Right.
at July 1st.
And the other thing, the piece I'd like to do, because I know a lot of them are doing 3 squads, and I've talked to you about this, I know that's a little more expensive, or even doing 3 squads, and that also is a morale issue, because a lot of them are going to 3 squads, because they're working 8.5 hours versus 12.5 hour shifts, and that makes a lot of people leave, so that's something I'd like to, I think, hopefully the city in a couple of years can get to that.
Yeah, and we want to create an evening shift and grab additional staff. I'd like to get 8 more officers, 2 sergeants, and 6 officers to create an evening shift and overlap.
And then one other question, the overtime at the football game, I know SROs cover that, does the school's budget cover any of that overtime?
The schools cover.
They do cover that, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So it's the same thing with the community center when they have the police officers doing the events?
Yes, I don't want to say issue, but the stuff at the community center is covered by, whoever rents unless, Jay has an event there that we have to help out with, then that's different, it's a city event. But normally, it's mostly the plaza events that we're seeing an increase.
Okay.
Chief, there was a comment about the animal control contract increasing. How much are we currently paying, and what do we project it will be increasing to? And who does that service? Does Prince William to provide that service for us?
Prince William, I think we were at 42. We had a significant increase. They charge per animal that we deliver.
Wow.
And we've seen a significant increase this year. So on the safe side, we did increase it to 70, or roughly about 70. But, we might not have to pay that. But we're just trying to be, have a number in it that we'll be able to cover our bill in case we get it. Because they didn't charge us this year, but there was a significant increase.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Daryl's 76, and last year it was 42.
I want to, I'm sorry. Just one other question about, I know you don't have the ECO as much anymore because now you drop them off. You do similar what DC and Maryland does. You drop them off at the new center.
Yes.
And then they take them from there. That will reduce some of the overtime possibly, right?
We haven't seen such an impact on that on this. We, a little bit in the beginning before the CRC was open, but we shouldn't see an impact on our overtime budget like
Because
that.
before, you would have to drive them statewide, right? Whatever.
It's not driving, it's sitting with them until a bed is located and the TDO.
Who would
is-
take them to the facility?
The sheriff's office.
The sheriff's, and they would come, they would never push it back on you?
Sometimes they did.
Okay, and that's,
Yeah,
you don't
sometimes
get
we
state
delivered,
reimbursement.
we had to deliver some people before, or not deliver, but transport some people before, but mostly the sheriff's office handles it.
And the other piece, and this is for the fire as well, your knife differential, and I've asked you to consider doing the full 12 hours, now you do 8 hours because it's a long shift. Does the fire department do night differential as well? You don't do, how come you don't do night differential?
24-hour shifts.
Huh?
They work all day.
But if you're working at night, I mean,
Other departments do, I don't think our.
because other fire departments do that. You don't do that?
Our financial system wouldn't allow us to do that. There's no way we have to.
Okay. Is that something you're considering, at least part of your budget, to give the full squad? Because I know other jurisdictions do as well for the night differential.
Yeah, in the budget, after talking to the city manager, it is in there that we're trying to pay them for the full 12 instead of doing
Okay, thank
the
you.
8 hours.
Thank you, sir.
And then finally, the red light revenue from red light cameras. I know you said revenue is decreased, but do we know where that is with the red light cameras in particular?
I mean, the collection part's gonna be key, but I mean, there's a lot of money out there that has not been collected. I mean, we're talking between parking and our traffic light and speed, we're over $2 million.
Oh, so,
That is due.
Mr. Manager, we can't leave $2 million on the table.
No.
So what do we, as a city, a consultant, we could hire an outside firm that will collect that for us on a percentage basis?
Well, that's the problem, right? We get pennies on the dollar.
But it's zero now, right?
Well, in December of '24, when I started, '25, yeah, you approved a position in the police department to run all these things down.
Yeah, I remember.
Technologically, that has proved challenging. However, we have a new partner in the treasurer's office, and I think we're going to be able to see some success there.
Go get them.
$2 million.
We expect $2 million by next year.
Exactly, at
Just
least.
quickly add that we already, with the parking tickets, we already send to our debt collector, TACS. So when they've done the, it's on, when they've done their part at the police department, we already are doing the parking tickets to TACS. And so a lot of times they'll call my office and they have a DMV stop, but it's not because they're not in compliance with taxes. It's because they're not in compliance with parking tickets.
Okay.
And
How come
we
the
get those
collections
on the
doesn't
regular
move to his
basis,
office?
just on parking tickets.
Why doesn't the collections move to his office, the treasurer's office? Why are you doing the collections there? Why don't you move it to?
Well, I think there was shortage in the treasurer's office before, and I think the governing body agreed that maybe having an in-house person would help us out in getting some collections done.
Yeah.
And I think the obstacle we're dealing with now is that we don't have a system for collection. We're doing it all spreadsheets. Once Tyler gets up and running, we should be fine.
Okay.
But you would have the mechanism with moving people around it. You have multiple people that could jump around if someone was out to be able to collect that, and you also have the ability to, under your authority, to do additional enforcement.
And right now, if they have parking tickets, they can still get a city sticker because we have no access to that.
Yeah, so, I don't know, just a thought, that should be.
It sounds like as time moves along, you guys are developing a good relationship and still figuring things out since
Yes.
you've been newly elected. But it sounds like good things are happening. Yeah, it sounds like good things are
Because
happening.
the
Awesome.
jurisdiction that I work at they send it all to the treasurer's office. They don't, the false alarms, everything is there.
I think the communication now is there, and I think we're doing a better
Yeah.
job.
Cool.
It's a systems problem, and we're working on the system.
And Tyler should be up by July still?
July 1st is when we'll go live on the financial module, yeah.
Okay.
Are most of the people that are delinquent outside the city, or the people,
It's from all over the place.
you have people in the city who aren't paying?
Yes.
You go knock on their door.
You go knock on
I go knock on their door. Somebody give us some money.
Carol will go knock
Any
on
other-
the
Knock
door.
on their door.
Show me the money.
Any other real
Got the
questions?
gun?
No.
Okay, chill.
Okay, thank you.
That's funny.
We're good?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, everybody.
So fire department, again, pretty flat, no change to the org chart, no change to the FTE count. got some increases there. That can't possibly be right. Oh, it's because of the decrease in revenues. That's why the net impact is so large. And so.
And that's for the SAFER grant, right?
Yes, that's because we no longer are getting the SAFER grant money, and all of those positions have been wrapped into the general fund.
Are you able to give me a general night differential around the region as well? Because I think,
Okay.
I know a lot of just with general costs.
Princeton does it,
Some
our
localities,
own
because
does
I
it.
think that's
Everybody
fair
does
that you work late.
That's something Tom's asked me about multiple times, and we were told in the past that our financial system, because it was all spreadsheets, would not allow us to do that because it would just be too complicated. So we just kind of just said, we'll just let it go for now.
So
But
is
as
it-
we get
is
more
it a payroll
technology, we
issue?
should be doing it.
So is it just a payroll issue?
Could be.
Yes. So when we turned our budget into the city manager, it was actually a decrease. Then the time we got the salaries and benefits and all that tied into it, it went up to about 2.4% increase. So it was a really flat budget. There was a couple questions that the city manager received. One was about a $7,000 pay increase or overtime increase. That is simply just inflation. You take the employees we have, and we're having to send these employees out 3 times a year, 8 hours a day, to meet ISO training, so when we keep our ISO points up. So when those employees go out, you give them a 2.5% pay raise last year. So their hourly rate goes up. So in order to get that hourly rate, I had to raise $7,000 for the overtime rate to go up, to make sure that we get them employees the training.
Yeah, my question was, because I did pose the question about the 7,000, was when you look at your prior years, I think you had, let's say 250,000 budgeted, and you only spent like 210. I mean, so consistently over the last 3 or 4 years, you've underspent, significantly underspent your overtime budget. So I just didn't understand why the increase when you're underspending your current budget allocation.
Well, we added on more employees. We have one shift currently right now that runs at minimum every day. So if it takes one person to go on vacation or sick leave or extended FMLA leave, we're paying overtime every day to backfill that spot. Because that one spot still hasn't been filled, it's still kind of frozen.
So with the additional 15 FTE, you still have to pay more overtime for,
That
even
was-
like, again, back to the point of not spending your budget for overtime over the last 3 or 4 years.
Those 15 people brought us up to minimal staffing for what our service delivery model
Absolutely.
looks like.
Yes, yes.
This is something
We needed them.
We should have done 10, 12 years ago. We just didn't do this, and now that we're the ones that get to bear that pain. But to be honest with you, I talked to the mayor about this before. There's going to come a time and point where we're going to ask you for more people. And you're going to I'm going to have to hear it again. You just got 15. I'm going to tell you again, it brought me up to minimal staffing just for the service delivery, because we continually build in this city. The service delivery model keeps going up. So in order to combat with, all the new residents we got, we have to continue.
On that point, are you guys applying for a new SAFER grant going forward?
In the future, if I ask you for more employees, you say that's the route you want to take as a council, that's the route I'll take. If you tell me no, then that's the route I'll take.
It's hard
So
for us to
I'm
turn
putting
down
your
free
hands to drive
money.
this one.
Yeah, right.
It's hard for us to turn down free money.
Well, right now, we ain't getting no
for-
money because it's frozen. So.
Right.
And Vice Mayor, it just occurred to me that the SAFER grant salaries and the SAFER grant overtime were in 2 different GLs, different from the regular overtime. So now I've combined those, because we're not going to have the SAFER grant overtime next year, so.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's
That could be
slipped my
the
mind.
increase, the
Yeah.
7,000
Yeah,
increase?
that slipped my mind when you
There was
asked.
a lot of SAFER grant things that were GL'd out, we actually just moved them into the
Sure.
lines.
That makes sense.
And those got zeroed out.
Have to look at that. It's only 7,000, like you said. What's the status of our ladder truck, our infamous, famous ladder truck? Is it running? Is it on the streets?
It's running every day.
Okay.
Except when it's in the shop, taking Mark's money away from it. But
And what's the lifespan?
It's an older truck.
Yes.
It's 13 years old right now.
Yes.
We were hoping to get like 15 years out of it. That's probably a good point of reference for that, because it's a 80-some thousand pound truck beating down the road every day. Wear and tear, and, hydraulic cylinders are very expensive. That's one of the big issues this time that Mark can find out. It was a hydraulic cylinder.
Sure.
So But it's staffed every day. It's minimally staffed every day. It doesn't have the required staffing on 4, but we'll get there as we get that next safer grant.
Mr. Manager, remind me, where is the new ladder truck on the CIP list?
It's in the CIP. The first set aside for it is scheduled for 28. Although I have 2 other avenues that I'm pursuing to finance all or part of it that I don't want to talk about
Sure.
yet. But yeah, we're going to start paying for it here in a couple of years.
28.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to pay for it soon because it takes how many years to build this thing?
Couple
Or
years.
order it and then get it?
Minimum 3.
Right, so if we have 2 years for our other one to last, then we're kind of behind the 8 ball.
And
Just
on
cross
that
your
point,
fingers.
to that point, we're spending what, like 90, 50K a year on the repairs, the current one, right? So is there a possibility that we could bring that up to 27?
We can do the actuarial work on it. That the $90,000 shouldn't happen again before we get rid of it. But it was like Mark said. Sometimes you have the 60,000 mile service, and then you're good for a while. But we can definitely look at that and trend it out and see if we want to move that forward.
I'm just thinking if we have these like 50 to 90K hits every year, at what point does it make more sense to, hey, it's time to go to the auto shop and buy the new car this year versus wait 2 or, what's the, when you put in the order, it takes what, 3 years?
2 to 3 years. And that may be what we do. We can maybe make that down payment earlier and get the process going. Because if we do put the down payment down and they go and build it and we don't buy it, there's going to be a line out the door of people that will. So we may be able to move that up.
Cool.
At least get the ball rolling. We won't see the truck for years. But
Just with all the 2x2 construction that we have more projects coming on the line in the theater. I think having a operating ladder truck for our community makes sense. And we should think about doing that sooner than later.
It's a great observation. You're dead on it. You see it. So, I ain't got to speak to that no more. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just real quick, the E911 county facility cost, I saw that it stayed flat from last year. There's no increase there for that?
Well, every other year it goes up. So
Every other year, okay.
It goes up 7% every other year. So what we try to do is budget 3.5% every year just to make sure that.
Yeah, it didn't go up at all this year. That's why I was
Right.
curious.
And I think last year or the year before, it went up like tremendously amount because we went 5, 7, 8 years without paying. 'Cause their finance system didn't catch it. And then when they did catch it, they called up real quick and they said, here's your big bill. But luckily, we would actually been putting that money away, so it didn't when the big hit.
Okay.
Chief, could you speak briefly on the, which I think is an amazing program, and I give the fire department much credit for it, working with our high school and the EMTs, just your
EMT?
perspective on that?
So that was something that we talked about for 2 or 3 years with the schools about getting EMTs in here. And so we're sending these young people to school to get thousands of hours of training to get their certification for EMT. And then they'll get a state certification.
Wow.
Which they'll be allowed to take out to the workplace and become marketable. Right now, we have a joint venture with the school. We're providing some of the instruction with them. It's pretty much their project, though. We give them the training room every day to use, props, whatever they need to use. We get to see the young people in there, and hopefully one day those people will actually work for us.
Yeah.
That's where I think last week, Dave Lyons was talking about the big CIP, for a fire training center. If we can get them cross-trained as firefighters and EMTs, we can hire those kids straight out of school. That fixes a lot of my hiring issues, a lot of my diversity issues that I have.
Yes.
I just can't hire the kids without certifications because I don't have a training facility to send them to.
Sure.
If I send them to Prince William County to train and get certified, they come back to me for 2 weeks, give me a 2 weeks notice, and say, I'm going back, get that more money, which you was talking about earlier. So it's kind of so we have to hire truly certified personnel right now.
Sure.
That's where these kids are going to help us.
Well, it's a great program.
It
Appreciate
We should
all
start
that
with
our
the police, too.
fire department is doing with our young people. It's great.
Carl, I have a question, kind of touching on the SAFER grant. And I think I asked this in the written questions, but have we considered hiring a full-time grant writer to kind of help us across departments? Because I think in the same way that we, look at our relationship with McIntyre as an investment that pays a really high ROI, could we similarly get a return on investment from hiring a grant writer that can work across departments to help us get these outside funds?
Yeah, so I'll tell you that in the past year, whenever the departments come to me and ask for grants, the question is not about the grant. It's about, do we have the staff capacity to implement whatever we'll get? And we don't. So we could get a grant writer in here that gets us another $2 million a year worth of grants, but we don't have anybody to do the work. So we're at capacity with what Calvin's team has done in transportation. Just this last year alone is a double-digit percentage increase in workload with no increase in capacity. So we do look at grants, and I'm primarily focused on things like ladder trucks or things like that. But anything that requires a staff input is hard to justify without increasing staff. So yes, I answered the question. I haven't sent it out to you guys yet, but my response is maybe in a couple of years we'll be in a position to be better positioned to pursue these things and look at it from the standpoint of wrapping staff into the grant costs. But we just don't have the capacity to do that right now.
Okay, thank you.
So we did have someone that we sent to classes for grant writing for the fire department specific, and they actually helped us with the safer grant stuff, so that actually helped. So that's just something we did on our own.
Any other questions?
Isn't the person in finance, Josh, listen, with Tanya, isn't she a grant person?
Yeah.
Does she do?
She's our accounts receivable manager / grants manager. So she's doing most of the compliance, but not really all that involved with the performance side of it. That's been up to the departments to sort of manage. So it's kind of been a collaborative process. And it's decentralized, which is, that's not ideal. We used to have a grants manager position a couple of years ago, but yeah, we're doing the best that we can with the FTE that we currently have.
Thank you.
And I want to make clear that compliance piece is not a sourcing and writing position. Sourcing and writing is a completely different skill set. So we have to do these things or we'll have to get the money back. So just to be clear, that's not a substitute.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Wow, I think that brings us to conclusion. Oh, wait, Calvin.
How about HR? What? HR? She was under finance. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Mensing, Vice Mayor Moore, members of council. Calvin Odell, the Director of Community Development.
Again, not a lot of change in Calvin's FTE counts and spreadsheets. He does have a number of asks in the various funds for additional staff, especially in the maintenance area, and one part-time building inspector, but otherwise, this is what we're looking at there. Again, our revenues in community development are tied to development, and it goes in waves. Get a whole bunch of permits, a whole bunch of tap fees, a whole bunch of this, and then they'll start building those things, and next year we won't have any, or as many, and so it comes and goes, but that's nothing remarkable to me in this budget.
Yeah, and I'll try to head it off before Councilmember Moreau asks. There is a difference in the revenues here, and in my spreadsheet, as Carl said, we started our presentations back January, February. Carl and Josh and Jamie and I all sat down and we reviewed budget numbers. A big part of that, as Carl was alluding to, is the development impacts, as we call them, where we try to time the onboarding of new developments, and that impacts building permit revenues, site permit revenues, and then impacts your water revenues, your stormwater revenues, your solid waste revenues. And in that meeting, we decided that there's a lot of uncertainty with some of the developments that have been on the books for some years and yet haven't quite come in and finished their site application process, haven't achieved site development permits. So we felt it safe to push any of those beyond 27. So it's bad news in the near term, but that money all comes roaring in at some time, as long as these people decide to execute the projects they've been approved for. So maybe bad news in 27, but good news for 28, 29, so.
Can you help me understand, we have a couple proposed like crewman positions coming online, but then they're right next to like vacant slots.
Yes.
So am I understanding that like we have a hard time filling those vacancies, but?
Yes, so there was a big spew in the speaker notes of my PowerPoint, my departmental budget slide about attrition, and we've been struggling with it for some time. The crewman one turnover has been really high. We're now losing quite a few people to like Fairfax Water and other public works departments chasing higher pay. And there's some upward mobility issues with the way we handle crewman 1, 2s, 3s, the hierarchy amongst our crewmen. They're seen as fixed positions. There's no ability to promote within internally, so Carl and I have been discussing that and working on some sort of a plan to sort of solve that and switch to like a stepped plan based on competencies, trainings, and certifications. But for now, it's seen as a fixed job availability, which means that a 2 or 3 has to leave for a 1 to have anywhere to go. And it's been quite a problem for us. We have some ones right now that have been here for years, and there's just nowhere for them to go. And so attrition has been a problem, and we do have vacancies. And I felt, after what happened this winter, I think in total, when I look at the org chart, there's 18 positions that should be able to help us plow snow, and yet we went into the storm with 13 people available to plow snow. And that was a combination of vacancies and, just leave, people being ill or otherwise on leave. And, thanks to Jay Swisher and the fire department for bailing us out and putting some people on the streets with us to allow us to survive what we did survive, but I felt we'd be amiss to not request an additional crewman in water and additional crewman in streets, because the big challenges we faced were trying to plow snow at the same time that we were facing 5 water breaks during the emergency declaration. And so to deal with the attrition, I don't know how to deal with it in any way other than to increase the staff, knowing that we haven't been fully staffed in a long time. I don't think we'll find a time where we're always fully staffed for a long period of time, because there's always going to be turnover unless we can come up with a solution that keeps people here chasing money and titles. So it is what it is, and that's why I recommended the 2 new positions, the 2 new maintenance positions. Now, when Carl also alluded to earlier, Steve has been bringing in an incredible amount of grant money to the city since he started here. The problem that we have is throughput. He was able to hire Abdul as a project manager. He's doing a great job, but we've crossed that threshold where things have gone from preliminary planning projects to design projects, and now they're all becoming construction projects. And yes, the grant funding's pouring in for the construction phase, but who's going to manage all those projects? So the big push right now is to not leave that grant money on the table, and there is cost recovery mechanism in most of these grants. So we do believe that we can, recover at least 20 to 25%, maybe even more of the costs of a new project, project management assistant through the grant programs. But without an extra body, there's really only 2 choices. Either we fall behind and don't take advantage of the grant money coming in for construction, or we try to manage all of these construction projects with 2 people, and at the same time, you're pulling Steve away from additional grant writing and additional grant chasing to have him doing project management. So it is a big, important ask. It is mostly state and federal money that we're spending to improve our transportation system, but we just don't have the throughput capacity without that additional assistant project manager underneath of Steve, so that he can stay focused on what stays focused on, the planning and the grant acquisition, and Abdul and his assistant project manager can tackle this new phase of construction we're about to get into. With the building inspector, the part-time building inspector, that is really, we just talked about it. We have an incredible amount of development approved and some sort of state on the books. We're doing that with 1 building inspector and 1 building official currently, but the current building inspector is looking to retire. There is an opportunity there to bring on a guy who's been through 2 careers in building inspections, who is interested in coming on part-time. And in that, you're not going to find a lot of young people with the level of certification or experience. So there is an opportunity there that's unique to sort of make sure that plan review doesn't stall, that we don't get behind on plan review and permit issuance, but we also have extra hands to go do inspections in the field and get us through this really busy time. I mean, you're talking hundreds upon hundreds of residential units, a B&B theater, continue build out of Park 170, continue build out of the City Hall building. There's a lot on the plate for the next few years. So we just see that as a very, very opportune and sort of fortune moment to take advantage of a very highly certified person and bring them on as part-time help without the cost of benefits, sort of help us keep pace without going out and finding somebody that's young and needs tons of training to do what he's already doing. So.
It sounds like an excellent proposal. As far as the project management and us having not enough people to do the project management part of it, or project management, have we considered contracting that out? And how, since it's a short time period, it's a specific project, and once it's completed, that person would go away?
Well, with the transportation projects, the grant process is always moving forward. We don't pass up planning grants or, preliminary design concept grants. We don't pass up any of those. So for every project we execute over the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully there's more projects coming behind that. That's the way the process tends to work, is we get planning grant money, and then we get design grant money, and then we get construction grant money. I don't see the transportation project, I don't see the number of projects we're able to get grant funding for fading. It'll be kind of a shift in approach. Right now, we've got the Polk Signal coming on board, the HSIP projects, a couple of transportation alternative sidewalks projects, but then the next big phase is going to be the trails projects and trying to, get a nice walking, biking trail system throughout the city. And I'm sure that by that time, the population of Northern Virginia will grow even more, and we'll be looking to widen some roads and expand some roads. And I don't think the process is going to stop until Northern Virginia stops growing. So transportation projects probably won't fizzle away. It's probably not a temporary thing. But in terms of contract project management versus in-house contract management, we have hired in the past people to oversee projects. You're typically paying more. Say a project takes 6 months, you're paying somewhere along the lines of $130,000 to $150,000 to have someone manage that project for 6 months, as opposed to hiring someone, say at $80,000, $90,000 and paying 50-60% benefits on that person. But then that person is available for other things, whereas with contract services, they're not available for other things to the city. So I've never really seen the benefit in contracting out project management. It's kind of the same thing as when we try to contract out building inspections. We're just blown away by how much the cost of such training and certification is worth in the private market. And I'll never forget the first time we contracted out building inspections, because the building inspector and I were both out of town, and a weekly bill was, I want to say, $3,700, and they only did 4 inspections. And I was just absolutely floored. But, it's hourly rates for highly trained professionals, and it's pretty expensive. So we can always look into it. More than happy to, take the opportunity here to sort of see what we could get quotes to manage some of these transportation projects would look like. But I'm expecting that in the end, we'd be better off bringing somebody in as an assistant at that pay level than paying for project management on 2 to 3 projects on a contract basis.
Okay.
But
thank you.
I just had a comment, thank you. When I pulled all that everybody's salary by position, and your department was the worst. I thought they were the least paid, and I think it'd be very difficult to contract. And I think if we paid competitively, but if we can't do the $2 million class comp study, I would hope that Public Works at least gets looked at to get additional, because the crew workers are just really underpaid by a lot, by tens of thousands of dollars. I fought that when I was on council the first time to bring the minimum up to 40. and there's just, and I can see where that's a challenge for you. So I'm hoping those positions can at least be reclassified.
Well, the class comp study is going to give us all that data, and if we can't afford to do the whole thing, we can certainly cherry pick the most deserving or the lowest parts of that tree.
And I just want to comment one thing, because I know for the snow removal, you had people working over 24 hours. You had some-
The storm was a unique situation, and like I said, the fire department was able to jump in a plow truck, and Jay Swisher offered us up some employees to jump in plow trucks and kind of spell the need we had on the street. But as soon as we left the street plowing, those guys were moving right into water breaks. And yeah, I don't really want to speak to the number of hours that some of the guys worked consecutively, but they did what they needed to do for the good of the city. You couldn't let a water break flow in sub-freezing temperatures. It would have been an absolute nightmare. So
Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the guys worked an incredible number of hours, and they did a great job. And we survived, and the city survived, but it was, it was probably more than 24 hours straight for some of the supervisors in the higher level positions. I know that the superintendent slept in an easy chair in his office for 5 days straight, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is it. Unless you have other questions, that's the end of the department presentations.
I have a ask. Can we get this exact slide deck that you just had up? Not this one, the other one.
Yes.
With all the fixed numbers. I know PD might have had an error. There might have been that transposition in finance.
Yeah, and I
the
forgot to
fuel
put
costs.
fire's ops budget in the first one. There's.
Yeah.
So the one I'm preparing next time is all squared away.
Okay.
So I can get that out to you.
Also, I like how you have on the thing, it says click here for their slides.
Yep.
Can we also have a click here for their line item, Excel, line.
Yeah, the Excel part, and not for the public too. Let me just reiterate that too.
I can try.
Okay.
I spent about 4 hours trying to develop that, to get that spreadsheet in a way I could send it out yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's one of more than 20. So I can try. It's about budgeting the time, quite frankly.
Or maybe just a link to the entire Excel, if not breaking it up by department. Would that be easier or no?
Well, I could link to what I sent you yesterday, but I mean, if you don't
Yeah.
know what you're looking at, you don't know what you're looking at, so.
If you could just link everything, because I know we have so many different
Yeah.
PDFs and so many different
I
emails.
know,
If we
yeah.
could just have one big
Confusing.
master with the links, that would be, sorry.
I would try.
Okay.
I have a question on your, I think it's a number is a little off, I think.
That could
For
be.
city management, under employee awards for, wait a minute.
Did you say employee awards?
Yeah, for FY 2026 quarter one or A1, you have $200,000, I think, unless I'm reading it wrong.
Awards miscellaneous.
It's under
Yeah, I don't have the line item in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a mistake. That's for
Right.
FY '26, though.
Yeah, it's like really high number.
203,590.
I imagine that includes the bonuses that you approved? Yeah, I think that's where the bonuses come that you
Yeah.
approve every year.
Employee awards?
Yeah.
Okay.
We only have budgeted
$1,000,
3,000 for this
$1,000 per
year.
employee.
Pardon me?
FY '27 is only 3,121.
Yeah, they come at the end of the year when we make sure we have the money, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
Oh,
it just
okay.
moves in,
Yeah.
okay.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's why it's $1,003 this year, it's $914 the other year, it's different amounts, so.
All right.
I would just like to say that I'm happy that the proposed budget includes one mayor and 6 council people. There's no reductions up
no
here
room
on
for
this,
two
on the
mayors.
I thought you were
dais.
tempted though, Carl.
No, in fact, you're all getting a nice raise, I mean, come on. Yeah,
Are we going to publish a budget book
yeah, absolutely.
on the approved, or are we going to do the draft? or the-
No, it's
Just the final- the
adopted,
final.
whatever you adopt will be put
Will
into
be
a budget
adopted.
book.
Okay.
It'll be about 400 pages long, because I think one of you wants it as long as possible.
Michael.
Okay, maybe not. 40
No,
pages long.
I'd say 40 pages.
Okay.
Everything that's been presented in the spreadsheet, I just want to concur with Alana and just reiterate to the public, make sure it's posted to the public and get to it as well, not just us.
Yes.
Yeah, those links are all going to the public
I
website.
meant the Excel spreadsheet with the
numbers.
breakdown with the numbers so
The
that you can
numbers.
see.
Yeah,
okay, this
I'm
includes
not going to
this.
send that out to the public until I'm sure it's right, and I've checked every cell. In fact, I told Josh today, I said, after tonight, I'm going to spend the next 3 days going through every line.
Well, at some point, we need to give it to them so they too can look at it.
We
Can't
do.
wait
We
just till
publish it
it's
every
perfect.
year.
Can't wait till it's perfect. It's not going to ever be perfect. Like you said, it's ever
It is.
changing, right? So.
It was a strenuous process yesterday, and it made me want to put a little effort into making sure it's as close as I can get it.
I'm hoping that once we get Taylor on board on July 1st, that there'll be a budget module that will stop all these spreadsheets and individual.
If they weren't on my computer screen, I would have a burning party.
So Tyler will help us, and we have a budget module we purchased.
Yeah, currently, if you were to ask me, hey, I would like a year-to-date on name your budget line, I can't do that for you. I mean, it would take me a week to make sure that everything had been brought in from Evenity, whereas in Tyler, it'll say, which budget line do you want? I can just push the button and get it for you in a second. So-
Because for me, going forward, I like to see actuals, because that's
Yeah.
where trends are. Trends are in actuals. And I notice a lot of the stuff here this year doesn't show the actuals. So yeah, going forward, hopefully Tyler will make that easier for us to see those information.
Well, that's one of the struggles I have because, we overwrite the budget with the amendments. And so when I'm trying to look at trends, I am trying to figure out, am I looking at how 2023 closed or what the adopted budget was? And so then I have to go to the actual budget book, which is no two are the same, and try to figure out where these things compare to pull the data out for comparison purposes, because the spreadsheets, the biggest issue is all of our spreadsheets before 2023 are password protected. And so I have to go find them in a PDF somewhere and data into them because I can't get into the spreadsheets. And nobody can remember the password, so.
Well, just so you know, even if there's a mistake, there's grace here. We
I
all
appreciate
know
that.
I mean, it's,
But will it overcome my pride?
Well,
But I
gotta let
appreciate
it
that.
go, let it go.
So
Absolutely.
I have a question, general budget questions though. Are we getting into that or?
Sure,
Oh, okay. I guess for FY27 budget, is there any funds from the enterprise going into the general fund for this budget?
You're talking about the enterprise funds?
Right.
Yes, yeah. There will always be funds from the enterprise funds going into the general fund.
So there won't be a negative balance, I'm saying, this year on any of the funds?
Well, no, we can't have a negative balance. So
Right.
there will be no negative balance.
So do you know the percentage by any chance of how
We,
much?
no, we don't. That's part of what the rate study, the presentation they did last Thursday was to
Right.
talk about where we stacked up, and what I'm hoping to get is a recommendation on what we should be doing to those internal rates. I think that's what you're talking about, is how much we charge, how much the general fund charges enterprise funds to administer them.
Right.
Yeah, we are way out of line compared to our comparables, and I expect to see an adjustment there. That's why I'm not recommending you do anything with the enterprise funds right now, because
Right.
it's.
Because I remember
it's
last year,
moving.
we decided to do year-over-year increase, so that's paused right now.
Correct.
Okay, so no 2.5 increase or anything like that?
Not unless you want to. If you read the news today, apparently we're
Yeah.
teed up to do all sorts of things, but until we get the study back, we're guessing, and I'd rather not guess.
So last year, we kind of activated the EDA, right? I know they're a separate entity. Is the city contributing to the EDA, or are they taking the bonds out themselves? Is there a line item where the city is, setting a debt obligation to the EDA?
So the EDA has been in existence for decades, and the bonds that were sold on behalf of the EDA were revenue bonds, which means they're basically you're selling debt against future income. It's not an obligation to the city, and we don't contribute to the EDA. We can,
Yeah.
but at this point, we don't have any contributions going their way.
All right, so the city's not contributing to EDA for any of the bonds, general obligation bond, the credit line,
Yeah, and they're the
Or-
revenue bonds, so.
revenue.
Yeah.
revenue
The
bond.
credit line and the loan that we were giving B&B is, those are economic incentives, there was largely grew out of the ARPA influx, but it doesn't have anything to do with the EDA.
Okay, so that's what I was saying. I didn't see any line item where that dollar amount was.
For?
The credit line and then the grant to build out the BB&B.
Well, so those all expired. I mean, they got their, like for us, all the developments in Park 170, they had to get their money by the end of 2024, I believe. So you're not going to see them moving forward. There is a line in there for B&B, but that's the last thing.
And then nothing with the bond for the city side.
That's not, that's, yeah.
Okay. The other thing was that I think last week I kind of asked for committed and unassigned funds.
Yeah, hold on one second. I just want to say one thing. We do administer the bonds. They all go through Josh's office, so when B&B makes a request, Josh is the one that works with the escrow company and US Bank to facilitate the money transfer, but that's it. Yes, I got your request. I'm trying to figure out how to fit it on a piece of paper. That is recorded in that long list of questions I sent you. I have not gotten the tables in there yet, but I'm going to do that.
Okay, great. The other question was that we're losing the federal funding for the stream restoration, right? At 527?
For the Russia branch?
I believe so, right?
No.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still there?
It's still there. FEMA is not funded right now, so there's nobody working.
Oh.
And so we're just all, FEMA's also the ones that reimburse us for the SAFER grant. Money's there, we just can't get access to it until they have employees that can come to work.
Okay. My understanding was we were going to lose that federal spending.
Well, unless you have a source I'm not aware of, that's not the information I have.
Okay, that's fine. Cash on hand. What do we anticipate? Is it 90 days, 120 days for the reserves?
Well, the reserves will cash on hand, the reserves will give you just over 2 months of operations.
So 60 days?
We have well in excess of that in unassigned fund balance, which you'll see when I get the tables formatted into the document that I'm sending you.
Okay.
I might have to turn one-page landscape. It'll just be weird, so, yeah.
Legal size paper.
And you said and I got your email earlier, the equalization rate you'll have next week.
It hasn't been calculated yet, so that, they have to combine, you have to look at actual sales and there's a lot of math involved, but he hasn't gotten it to me yet, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think that was my main question, and then did I ask about the borrowing from the enterprise fund? I don't remember.
Yes, you did.
Okay. And I think that's it. Ready to go? Trying to be me.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Sliding in under 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Next week, we're going to do, you'll have an opportunity to adopt the school's budget, and then I'll be doing the CIP presentation.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and then we will have to decide on what to advertise, the rates.
rate setting for May 5th, I believe.
Yep, May 5th.
I think I have
Are we
it.
still doing 1.5 cents?
That's
Well, so
what
That's the
I'm
proposal.
calculating.
Right.
We
It's
don't
the
have to
max.
advertise that.
It's the max.
Not to exceed rate.
So should we do not to exceed
Steve, can we get the
zero
screen back
across
up?
the board?
No, 1.5?
Maybe not zero, but we could find something that maybe we could live with.
Okay.
So
This is the
then
calendar for the rest
we'll
of
have
the
to come to a
cycle.
consensus, right?
Yes.
For the not to exceed,
Not
yeah.
to exceed.
Okay.
So we have the 21st. We do have a meeting penciled in for the 28th, which I guess next week we can decide whether we want that or not.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
We have a couple more meetings that if we need them, I didn't put them on here. These are the ones you have to have. So,
Well, we have to have one the third Tuesday in May as well. So don't get excited, guys. It's not a month off.
Okay.
well, no, I'm talking about budget specific
Right, these
ones.
are just the budget
Yeah,
days.
these are
Okay.
just the budgets.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the ones you have to take action because we have clocks
Sure.
for publishing the newspapers and all these things, so.
So we'll, on May 5th, that will be the debate on the floor is the not to exceed amount, or will there be any prep of that? I mean, I know what you put in the budget. Any discussions prior to that, so that when we come to that meeting, We will have.
Well, that's
had
why I was
answered
kind of,
questions.
like seeing if we could do a straw poll now and kind of come to a, not to exceed number that people
Right.
feel comfortable with, and if people want to debate it. in
You were saying not
futures-
to exceed zero. for
Well, because
real
the-
estate?
so the
It's a-
proposal for real estate
Yeah.
is a reduction in the
Yes.
property tax
Correct, correct.
for, by like 1.5.
It's kind of small, but this is all of the rates you would need to take action on.
So if that's the proposal on the table, and the meals tax is going to be unchanged, as are the water and sewer and trash
Personal
rates,
property.
anything, and personal property as well, then my suggestion was we say the not to exceed is 0% across the board. If we want to do 1% across the board, so it's a non-zero number.
Percent or cent?
Let's talk about cents.
Okay,
That's what it's
cents,
gonna
but
be. Yeah.
fine.
Oh, for real estate, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You're talking about real estate, yeah. So are you comfortable with 1 cent real estate, or you still think that's too high to advertise?
I mean, it's a not to exceed rate, so I think that's okay to advertise as not to exceed. I think we'll end up coming in much lower than that.
I think the equalization rate's gonna
I
help
agree.
we need to hold off until we have
I think we
that.
should.
So if we put 1, we can still lower it 6.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's kind
So
of
she
weird
does
with the
right.
not to exceed, because we can exceed 1. We just couldn't advertise.
It's actually not, you would advertise 138.5.
Well, yeah,
And then
yeah.
you wouldn't exceed that, you'd go down to 138. So it's, you're not, so it is technically not to exceed, so,
Okay.
yeah, you don't advertise the reduction, you advertise the actual rate, so.
So you want to leave it at 139.5, not to exceed?
Correct. That's my proposal. I don't know if people.
And we can go down from there.
Sorry, Stacy, what was
Right.
the point you're making? I didn't hear
I think
that.
the equalization rate, we need
We'll get
to
the
find that
equaliza-
out before we even do a straw poll. I mean, I know you're just trying to get an idea, but.
Okay.
We may also get the water and sewer study back by then,
Okay.
and so maybe that might inform some
All
other
right.
things, so.
Maybe, let's do like a follow-up next week.
Yeah, I'll update you next week on what's changed in the 7 days, because,
Follow-up kind of every week until.
well, and we have another meeting, well, we could have another meeting on the
Next week, and then Possibly
28th,
the 28th.
if we
yes.
wanted, but
Yeah.
Daryl says no.
Well,
Dale and Mike will always
take
say no.
consultation.
But yeah, I'll give you an update next week, and then it'll be 3 weeks before you'll have to take action, so.
Yes.
Which is good.
Or 2 weeks,
Gives us
it'll be
time
2 weeks
Yeah.
from tomorrow,
Work it
next
out.
week.
2 weeks, it'll be 2 weeks before you have to take action, so.
Is that okay, Kevin?
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay.
Move to adjourn? Or do we have to?
Second.
Move to adjourn, okay. yeah.
Third.
Third, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Stephen.
Opposed,
Thank you
abstained,
to all the
motion carries. Thank
Thank
you
all
for
the
everyone
department
being
heads.
here.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
I kind of liked it. I think I'm going to have him come to every.